Hey, what's poppin', everyone? If you don't know me, my name is Denzel Mensah. I am a certified life, personal development, and relationship coach. I'm also an ENFJ 911 social sexual in the Myers-Briggs and Enneagram system. And today, I just wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about some of the thoughts that I was having pertaining to commitment. And when I say commitment, I mean the concept of commitment and how maybe different people might approach it, and how I've been realizing how I approach it from different angles and in different contexts. And, it's kind of still fresh on my mind. So hopefully y'all enjoy just, hearing me speak through this, and let's see what comes from that. Let's get it. So this has been more of a thought lately, ever since I started becoming closer to certain friends who a lot of them have fearful avoidant attachment styles. And so, for those of you who don't know much about attachment theory, I do have a video on the attachment styles and everything that you guys can go and watch. Also, if you're familiar with Heidi Priebe, she has way more in-depth videos. Like mine was more of like an introduction and everything for those who I just have no idea what this is. And then Heidi goes into a lot more like depth with it. Like that's her, wheel of knowledge and everything. So definitely check out her channel. But the fearful avoidant attachment style essentially can be wrapped up as a person who desires connection, but the closer that they get to somebody, then the more they start to get anxious of the person leaving them. So as they chase the person, or pursue the person, or get deeper with the person, then that anxiety of this person's gonna betray me, or this person's going to leave me, or this person's going to not like me anymore, starts to rise more and more. And then they sabotage it on their own. And then once it gets sabotaged, or once they put little cuts in it, or once they distance themselves, and then the other person's like, yo, what's good? And might chase a little bit, or might just be like, oh, whatever. But once they stop chasing, then the fearful avoidant is like, huh? And kind of goes back to chasing. And then kind of the cycle repeats depending on who the other person is. Some people, they might be like, nah, I don't play that. And they just cut it off right away. And then the fearful avoidant is like, I knew it. It was only a matter of time. For other people, they might chase, and the fearful avoidant is like, oh man, and is even further avoiding. And then for other people, the person might just, let them go however they go. And then the fearful avoidant kind of has this flow of coming and going a little bit as they please. I'd like to think I'm more of the latter, but I like to add reassurance throughout the whole thing. And so as I've been getting to know more fearful avoidant personality types, or attachment styles, people with fearful avoidant attachment styles, and just understanding, again, more layers of dynamics with them, I've been realizing how much so many people, I'm gonna just say it, especially the fearful avoidance, they project this idea of fluctuating feelings onto other people. They either intentionally or unintentionally assume that other people may be similar to them, in that they have feelings that kind of go up and down. They don't always know how they feel about a person. Sometimes they might feel this way about a person, other time they might feel this other way about a person. So then they can often assume that another person, would be the same way. And this, I feel like this isn't just a fearful avoidant thing. I think there's actually a lot of people. In fact, I'm gonna be real. I think that most people probably have a not fearful avoidant. They have fluctuating emotions toward others. It's unfortunate because with most people being that way, it's kind of hard to then believe somebody when they actually say that, oh, I'm just not one of those types of people. Like, once I've made up my mind that I like you as a person, that I am here and I'm rocking with you to the end, and boom, 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 then I'm here. Like, I'm committed. Like, that's it. And my feelings don't fluctuate or change, or I don't ride with those feelings and all of that. And I think that it makes sense for the fearful avoidant or whoever is assuming, like, you know, the feelings are fluctuating and stuff like that, that these, like, the person who's claiming that they don't resonate with that, it's like, oh, well, yeah, like, sure you do. Like, sure you're going to be around. Like, I've heard this before. Which, again, makes sense because, you know, this person, the fearful avoidant, or whoever the person might be, the fluctuating feeling person, might start to just assume that maybe me, for example, I am just somebody who's not really actually tapped into my emotions enough to know how much my feelings are fluctuating, which kind of even then still means that, like, okay, so then I won't be subject to the tumultuous turns of events, unless if they feel like I'm just going to one day just be like, oh, that's it, and crash out, which is a fear of theirs. That could be. It's like, it could be even more scary because it's like, oh, this would just blow up one day and I won't have any idea because you're not even aware of how much you just secretly don't like me. Or that one day you're going to dislike me. And so, yeah, it makes things a little bit difficult for sure. But I really have come to, like, notice and see just how much I really am stable with my emotions when it comes to other people. And the reason why is because, for whatever reason, I'm very big, I'm huge on this idea of getting to know somebody's core, like, right away. I believe that somebody's core identity, for lack of better terms, somebody's core is unchanging. It's whatever we see from these kinds of people, even years later, you can, if you paid enough attention in the early stages, you can still see the seeds for it. And I feel like whenever I'm getting to know somebody, whenever I'm asking them questions, whenever, like, we're sharing things, like, my immediate thing that I'm doing is I'm sifting through to get to the core of who that person is. I'm trying to see what seeds are there, and then I'm trying to see, okay, if these are the seeds that are there, how much water does it take to water these seeds? How frequently do we need to water these seeds? What kind of fruit is going to be coming from these seeds? Are these seeds that I actually am allergic to, or, you know, stuff like that? And, you know, just to bring it, like, to a more grounded level, what I'm saying is that I'm looking for these traits in a person, these immovable characteristics of a person, that even if at their worst or whatever, like, that's going to come, would I still be able to hang with them? Would I still be able to, like, commit to them in a way? And I feel like maybe a lot of people aren't able to do that because they're kind of, like, committing to, or even not committing, but they're just kind of, like, rocking with who the person is right then and there. And if something changes, then they're like, oh, I'm out. Which is honestly totally fair too, because you have to know what you're willing to put up with. So it's not even an issue or a problem when people are actually aware, like, oh yeah, no, I'm bouncing as soon as this happens. I think that where it does start to become a problem, or where it is a problem, is when people make it seem like they are non-judgmental and they are super, super open to whatever you're going to evolve into and become, and they are either unaware or they are aware, but they still make it seem like, oh, I'm gonna be through here, like, I'm gonna be with you through thick and thin. but they're not really like dedicated to the whole process of you evolving into this new being. Let me let my cat out. Yeah, that works because she was high key distracting me anyway. So because of this, I've been really attentive to how different people approach commitment. And I'm seeing how commitment can be a very scary thing for a lot of people. Because some people can see somebody's core maybe, but then they're not able to really see, okay, are these things that I can actually continue to rock with? Some people are not able to probably see somebody's core. Some people might think that they see someone's core, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't even know you anymore, and it's like, honestly, maybe the person might not be as recognizable to you in certain ways, but their core has always still been the same. Recently, I was in New York. Actually, I just got back this morning around 1 a.m. And another thing, I just turned 30, December 8th. Today is December 26th as I'm recording this. And so, yeah, it's been a really busy December, to be honest. I've had friends coming from all over and chatting it up. I caught some old friends up to some certain things about my life and all of that. And I have intentions for my 30s. Like I've made so many crazy mistakes, intentional things that I've done in my 20s that I'm not proud of. And I want to not even necessarily dissociate from, but want to show that I've grown from. And I also, in the event of me continuing to grow, I want to continue to uncover who I actually am as a person. Before society got to me, before even my religious upbringing got to me, stuff like that. Like, what things are just purely Denzel? Like, every human being, to my knowledge, is born with certain things in them that are just purely them. And then as they grow, these things might light up, they might grow themselves, or they might not be in situations or whatever that allow these certain things to grow. Some might grow more than others and then choke the other ones out in a way, stuff like that. But for me, I want to at least see all of the things that are there. So it's been a few years of this journey, like there's a deconstruction process that I went through, and I made poetry off of that. There's shadow work that I've went through, in my Phoenix of the Gold Coast video that I intentionally titled that way because I only wanted like the real ones to watch. And even this video, like I don't have like something crazy like ENFJ talks about commitment or something like that that'll clickbait people. It's more like, oh, those of y'all who are like genuinely interested in what I have to say or think about anything at all, even if it has nothing to do with type, here you are. Love y'all. So in my Phoenix video, I actually talk about this concept of identity, this idea of dying and then being rebirthed. And now it's like, whoa, like I feel like a totally different person. Like I've had like different lifetimes and stuff like that. But the soul remains the same. The core remains the same. And that's so interesting to me because even as I was in New York this like past week, I met up with with my old theater teacher. A shout out to you, Miss Q. And we were talking about how I was known as the Christian boy at my school. My school went from 5th grade to 12th grade. And back at Bronx Prep, like I was the Christian boy. Like the first thing that you see when you see me is you just know, like you just associate me like, oh, Jesus, Christianity, stuff like that. I was a theology kid. Sometimes I would look at myself and I'm like, dang, y'all must have been annoying. But then when I asked Miss Q, when I brought it up to Miss Q, I was like, yo, I'm really glad that you were able to put up with, how I was. Because obviously like Miss Q, she was not a Christian. And she was like, actually, even back then, you weren't annoying. I'm like, oh. And she was like, yeah, you were always very open. You were always this, you were always that. And you can kind of just tell the difference between people who just want to like rattle things off religiously versus somebody who's genuinely curious, genuinely trying to understand things, genuinely trying to like move in this way. And as she said that, it was interesting because she pretty much started talking about how even back then, where I'm at right now, like it doesn't surprise her because I was still that person, which is it's still like mind blowing. It's like it's not that I was like a quote unquote fake Christian, but something that's core to my identity is this seeking of truth. Even it like I'm trying to avoid as much bias as possible. And even if I know like it might not even be possible, it's like I want to at least be aware of where I'm being biased at. And so this truth seeking and this open-mindedness, these are core values and principles of mine that are just not changing. And when you have that, somebody even like Antonia Dodge, well, I don't think I've told this story publicly before, but and I promise you, I'm going to loop it back around. Me and Antonia Dodge from Personality Hacker, like we were watching a movie. It wasn't just us. It was me, Antonia, Joel Markwitt, Christian Rivera, aka C Note, and Beatrice Chestnut from the Enneagram and everything like that. We were all watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at a Hollywood theater. So it was actually really cool. As we were leaving that movie, I don't know why, but Antonia, because it was after like a long event and everything like that, hanging out, boom, boom, boom. Antonia and I were walking out, and I don't remember how exactly this came up, but she said one day when you start to question your faith and you pretty much like drift away from Christianity or drift away from your faith, which you will, then you have to make me a promise. And I honestly, like, I love Antonia. I still do. So at that time, I was like jarred because I'm like, do you not know how much I love Jesus? And boom, 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 boom. But I wanted to know what this promise was and what even made her say that. So I'm like, yeah, what's the promise? And she said, she pretty much told, well, I don't know, maybe she wouldn't want me to share what that promise was. Now that I think about it, I'm sorry to tease y'all. But for what it's worth, I wasn't even able to live up to it anyway. And I feel so bad about it. But I also feel like it's kind of her fault. But we'll get to it one day. Y'all are probably really wondering like what the heck it is. If one day she gives me permission to share, then I'll share it. But it wasn't anything like crazy. But it's just like I don't know what. But anyway, the point of me bringing that up is that even back then, like this was like 20. I think this was 2020. 2020 or 2019 maybe. Even back then, Antonia was like, this will happen, because she could see my core. And she told me this later on. Like, we've had a conversation about this. She was like, wow, yeah, I just always kind of like knew, because you are a truth seeker. That's literally what she said. You are a truth seeker. And I want everybody to know that me saying that is not saying that like, oh, so that means that Christianity is just a lie and this is that. It's not really that. It's more so understanding the difference between faith and fact. And again, I'm bringing this back to commitment, I promise. But with that, because I am a truth seeker, then anytime I feel like somebody has a perspective that's different from mine and they're very convinced of that perspective, I need to find out why they have that perspective and so strongly. And then I need to also reevaluate what my own perspective is, what my own paradigm is. And then at the end of the day, it's not even up to me to determine whether what's right or what's wrong, which I guess is where the TI inferior comes in, because it's like, I don't even really know sometimes how to determine like whether what's right or wrong. But the NI comes in by at least now I can see their paradigm. I can see why they view the world in this way. And now it's also allowing me to further fuel my paradigm of how I view the world and gathering more perspective. And with more perspective, you're able to see things from different angles more clearly. You're able to look at life in a certain way. So as I've continued to gather all of these perspectives and make sense of life in different ways and understand different paradigms, that was also something that's always been like very core to me. And that's drifted me to where I am now. And that has been scary. Now that I've turned 30, I had just this past weekend had very, very, very deep talks with my wife, Jamila, pretty much detailing how I'm nervous. I'm like, yo, because I have other friends like Clay Arnall, INFJ. I have my boy Emrys. I have my boy Cameron in Australia. Shout out to you, Cameron. If you're by any chance watching this, like, I have friends who have come from similar backgrounds as me, or similar personality types as me. Cameron is an INFJ, Emrys is an ENFJ, Clay is a INFJ. I have my boy Trey, he's an ISFP, at least as of right now as we're recording. You know, he's gone through his own journey, but it's my boy Trey. And it's like, as all of my brothers are like evolving and developing in their own ways, I'm seeing how they're going certain directions that's like, wow, I wouldn't have expected that for them. But when I look back, I'm also like, you know what? But when I look at their core, I can see how they started to go there. There's even people who now look at me, it's like, no, I kind of saw it coming for you. I don't know if I should be flattered or insulted. I don't know how you meant it, but I'll try to be flattered about it. But commitment. As I talk to my wife about it, I'm like, yo, I can't help that I feel like I'm growing and uncovering so much of myself so rapidly. I had no idea at all. It's actually kind of jarring because I built my whole vision for my life based off of Christianity. I wanted to become this, and I went to school for this, and I went to the biggest Christian university in the world, like all of this stuff. And now it's like I could not help. It was inevitable for me to be in the mindset of where I am right now, which even I know that it's kind of like, oh, Denzel, what mindset is that? You guys can collect things throughout the other videos I've done recently. It's always still evolving. But I've yet to detail it for a reason, because it's still evolving, and I don't want to lock it all in. And I did not expect that kind of evolution for my 20s. Even though now that I look at my core, I'm like, whoa, I see. I can actually see how I got to this point. Like, I've always been a curious person, even when I was in Christianity, and I very firmly believed it and everything like that. And it's, again, not to say that it's BS. It could be true. That's, I don't, it's just more one of those things where it's like certain doubts have now gotten to me, and it's like, I don't know certain things. And so I've gained enough reasoning to not believe it for right now. And yeah, I don't want to get into all that because that's not fully what it is. But it is important to at least mention that because, again, it goes back to the whole commitment thing. The commitment thing is pretty much me telling my wife, I don't know what this decade is about to bring me. When you married someone in the early 20s that now, like, when we got married, you had no idea, I had no idea that I'm going to go on freaking shroom trips, that I'm going to start exploring these specific concepts and ideas, that I'm going to identify this thing about myself and that thing and this thing and start doing this and start being interested in this and curious about this and talking to these types of people. Like, but it was always in the core. And as I've done the deconstruction, I was able to now uncover more of that. And I've shifted, and I still have a vision to still help people, to still better the world through relationships and all that, because it's still at the core. But now it's like from a different angle. Still love Jesus. My vision board is up there, and Jesus is still right in the middle of this, right in the center. Not in the way that the stereotypical Christian would describe it, but yeah. However, I was not expecting all of that. And looping this back to what Miss Q said about how I've always been this person, it reminded me of how I had told Jamila at one point, a few points. Well, no, it was one point, but I think about it often. I had told Jamila, like, dang, you know, I feel like my 15 to 20-year-old self would be so disappointed with who I am right now. Like, you what? Like, if I were to tell them, like, yeah, actually, like, go back in time, like, actually, right now, I've done this, I've done that, and I believe this, and boom, boom, and I'm kind of exploring this, and boom, boom. And who knows what's to come within the next decade. Like, and yeah, you know what I mean? And I was kind of like, dang, I've realized, I might have disappointed my younger self. And Jamila was like, no, your younger self would be so proud of you and probably think that you're so cool because that core, you were still the same person back then. And your younger self would probably be like, whoa, like, since we share the same core, what brought us to this point? And that was just a mind blow for me, because to think of my younger self, instead of being disappointed and all that, maybe trying to like reel me back, to actually being like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, how? Which obviously I would not tell him how, because then it's going to mess up the timeline and all that. I know how this stuff works. But commitment. I don't know what's coming in my 30s. I really don't know. I'm exploring so many different concepts. I'm reading so many different books. I'm gathering so many different paradigms. I'm continuously and rigorously scraping through my own paradigm. I'm the phoenix of the Gold Coast. Like, allowing myself, I'm getting comfortable with the idea of dying and rebirthing, reconstructing what I think about whatever. And yeah, I'm just like, Jam, will you still be here when I'm 40? Or where are your limits right now? Before you're like, oh, okay, this is a little bit too drastic of a change, I'm gonna have to pull back. Will that keep me from then growing in certain ways because I don't want to lose her? My most important relationship in my life. Aside from my relationship with myself. But she then starts to joke with me and tells me like, oh, Denzel, you hate yourself. That's why. And I'm like, no, I don't hate myself, because it's actually me loving myself, because I know that if I were to lose you, I would be more devastated and depressed than if I were to be my most authentic self, but not have her, right? So I'd rather let go of some things that I might see as like, oh, this is my most authentic self, but it interrupts me and her dynamic. And then, of course, she has her own journey. She's going to be growing in her own ways and stuff like that. And we've always grown in alignment together so far. So who's to say that that won't continue? But it's interesting. Commitment. So all of that said, these fearful, avoidant friends of mine, I had recently, even before this whole thing with like, where I'm like, dang, like my 30s and this, that, I recently saw how much they, like two different fearful, avoidant friends of mine had spoke about the fluctuating feelings thing. And they kind of made it seem like I might be like that. It's like, oh yeah, like, and your feelings fluctuate. I'm like, no offense, maybe yours does, but not mine. I know your core. Like, I have a friend of mine right now, a very dear friend of mine, who's like, yeah, I'm just waiting for you to not love me anymore, or not to hate me and stuff like that. I'm like, and then every like periodically, the friend is like, do you hate me yet? Do you not like me yet? And I'm like, no, if anything, I like you more and more every day. Like, what? And I know it would just, the person even said, like, it's going to take time to prove, like, no, I'm here. And I said, you know what? It's cool. I'm down. I'm down to prove that, because I know myself. If I've committed to you, that's the thing. There are a lot of people who I've not committed to. I'm here. I'm cool with you. Boom, boom. But I don't know if I can give you things up until the rest of your life. I don't know when we're going to depart. It's not that I'm planning to, but things might drift apart, boom, boom. But there are certain people who I am like, no, I know that as long as you allow me to remain in your life, I will be here. I swear. I know it. No matter what happens to you, no matter what transitions you go through, no matter what paradigm shifts that you have, all of that, I am here. You can believe that. Oh, how do you know? You don't know the future. I might not know where you're going, but I know where it's coming from. Your core. And I'm committed to your core. So because I'm committed to your core, I already know that anything that core creates and pushes out are things that I am able to commit to and work through and deal with. My word is bond. That's just what it is. And I know it's hard for you to swallow that. I know it's hard for you to believe that. I know it's going to take time, and that's all right. I have the patience for it. And I've been seeing this kind of be very jarring for a lot of people. Obviously it's just been a jarring year, but it's the truth. So, commitment. Do y'all see people's core? And when it comes to commitment, whether it be in your romantic relationship, whether it be in your friendships, do you guys think about that? How much do you think about that? I just posted my last video about ENFPs, and I'm not saying that ENFPs and INFPs are incapable of this either, so don't get me wrong, but in that video, I talked about how, with Heidi, I talked about how as soon as I meet somebody and we start to be hitting it off, I'm immediately thinking long term, okay, how much does this relationship need? Am I able to provide that? And where could this be going? What type of person is this? Is this the type of person that I want in my garden? Is this the type of person that this is going to become a problem one day? Stuff like that. And it's not even a problem with the person. It's just maybe the other plants around it, or maybe how much my energy can already take. There are so many amazing people that I see and meet, and I'm like, you know what? If I wasn't probably already at capacity, or if you didn't live so far and boom, boom, I would have invested in that, but I can't. Gotta let it go. You gotta make sacrifices, So it's not a personal thing. But yeah, that commitment. How much do y'all think about that? Do y'all feel like y'all are capable of actually looking into yourself, looking at another person, being like, look, no matter what you go through, I am committed. I am here. I am with you to the end, till we both take our last dying breath. Even when I don't always agree with the things that you do or say, again, I see your core and I'm with you all the way. I'm just curious, how many other people are able to do that? And if you're not, please understand that I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. I'm literally just curious because I noticed this about myself. I've started to write poems about it, where it's I'm reassuring these people, I'm here. It gets almost even weird. But I've also, last year or so, I made this pact with myself, stop seeing things as weird. I'm just an eccentric guy. It's to the point where it's almost it could be likened to proposing to somebody in a way. It's even a friend, my boy Trey. It's this, when he came, this past week or two, I was able to tell him, yo, I am committed to you. This is just what it is. Whatever you're going to go through, I'm here. That's that. We're going to work, whatever it is, we can work through it. I always say, things don't always have to be limited to a romantic relationship. In fact, they shouldn't, in my opinion. Some people, they only have capacity for investing this much energy in a romantic relationship, and I understand that. And I understand that I'm able to, push this further and all of that, especially being somebody who's just, my number one thing is depth of intimacy and connection. But that's why commitment is needed. I have friends who are oh, well, if they're not if y'all are just having these problems or whatever, just leave them. Just just, oh, well, bye. You know what I mean? And there are definitely some people where you do have to like drop off along the way because like, you're holding me back or whatever, maybe. But I'm not the type of person to just be like, all right, bye to like so many people. Like I am a committed person, which is funny again because Jamila was like, there's no way you're a Sagittarius. But I think it's all the Scorpio stellium in me and stuff like that. Anyway, we're not going to talk about astrology right now, but yeah, I am a committed person. And when I commit, I already see the core, and I know for certain 99.99999 like I'm here. And that's that. Now, if I haven't said I'm committed, then hey, that's a different story. But if I say I'm committed, I already know. And I'm just wondering, that's all. What are y'all's thoughts on commitment? Do y'all operate similarly? Would y'all tweak some things I said? Yeah, let me know what you think. I do not think that this is a personality type thing for those who might be wondering. I'm not saying like, yeah, ENFJs and INFJs, we all do this. Like, no. I'm not even saying that certain personality types are incapable of doing this. This is aside from personality type. It's just a me thing that I wanted to share with y'all and talk about this concept, commitment. What does it mean? We're going into this new year. Are you able to commit to the goals that you have for next year? I have intentions for my 30s, certain goals that I have, certain ways I want to change my mindset. I have to commit to that. I made them reasonable for that reason. Are you able to commit? Do you put enough thought into things before you commit to them? Are you able to even know what you want to commit to and what you're incapable of committing to and why? Drop comments. I would love to see some discussion going on. If you want to talk further about this with me one-on-one, be sure to book me at denzelmensah.com. If you do not know your personality type, definitely hit me up at denzelmensah.com where you can again book me. And yeah, let's just make this a conversation. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you want, check out that Phoenix video that I dropped last year. Definitely unveiled a lot in that video, and I'm still going through this journey, and I'm 30 years old now. So let's see, when I'm 40 or something, I wonder, looking back at this video, I might even redo this video and be like, dang, yeah, that 30-year-old Denzel had no idea that actually he was going to be 40. He was going to be exactly the same. Or he went through this wild change. Like, and there's even certain changes that I want to joke around and say right now, but I'm like, no, I don't want to risk somehow getting canceled or something like that. I don't be knowing what can cancel people, even when I'm just joking. But anyway, yeah. Thanks y'all for watching. Much love. And do not forget, you matter. Done. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.